Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back. This is the Wisdom Fitness channel, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in once again. With that being said, let's just jump right into this topic. I know you guys have been watching all kinds of videos on YouTube about weight loss, how to lose weight, things like that. And I'm here to give you, based off of my experience and what I'm currently doing, what works for me, and hopefully it works for you. And that's how to lose a pound a day or more. So with that being said, the general rule of thumb, and I want you guys to remember this or write this down now, because I've had people ask questions on another channel that I did a similar video about this, and they didn't quite comprehend it. Whatever weight you are trying to achieve, add a 0 to that weight, and that's the amount of calories that you should be taking in a day. No more than that. You should not exceed that calorie count. So for example, if you're trying to get down to 200 pounds, add a 0 to 200, that's 2,000. That means you should not exceed 2,000 calories in a day. If you're trying to get down to 150 pounds, add a 0 to 150, that's 1,500. That means you should not exceed 1,500 calories. If you don't understand, rewind it. That way it'll make sense to you guys. I'm just saying that because I've been asked in the comments on another channel that I've had about, okay, how do I lose this? How do I do this? That's it. That's a simplified way to get down to the weight that you need to be at. So we know about the next thing I'm going to go into. We know about intermittent fasting. We know about fasting. We know about all of these different things, hopefully. What I do, what works for me is I do one meal a day. That's typically what I do, or I do a 18-6 or a 20-4. That means you fast for 20 hours, you eat within a 4-hour window. So what that does is that means that when you're eating, only during that time, your blood sugar is going to increase. It doesn't matter what you're going to eat. Your insulin is going to go up. Everything you eat produces insulin, bottom line. So insulin is the hormone that keeps you from burning fat. Just so you guys know, insulin is triggered by eating virtually anything. Insulin is triggered. More so, for the most part, is triggered when you're eating carbohydrates. That's when there's a glycemic index and an insulin index based upon what type of carbohydrate that you eat. You guys can look it up. That will have the highest insulin response. So just remember, whenever you have any type of food, it's going to produce insulin, and insulin is when you have insulin present, you're not going to be able to burn fat. So let's get into the next thing that I want to discuss: macronutrients. You have three macronutrients. You have fats, proteins, and carbs. Fats, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories, right? Those are your three macronutrients. So why is this important? It's important because when it comes to losing weight, you have two fuel sources, right? And for the sake of keeping this simple, we're just going to get into it, and we're going to talk about glycogen, and we're going to talk about fat. Glycogen is basically stored sugar. It's what glucose breaks down into and gets stored as glycogen. So where does glucose come from? Glucose can come from primarily from carbohydrates. It's what carbs break down into glucose, and glucose gets stored as glycogen in your liver and in your muscles. So glucose comes about and basically gets stored as glycogen. Also, through a process of gluconeogenesis, protein, and if there's no carbs present or glucose present, your protein can be converted into glycogen as well through the process of gluconeogenesis, which is a whole different thing. So basically, at the end of the day, let's just look at it as two fuel sources that your body uses. Your body uses glycogen and your body uses fat. to make it simple, even more simple, I like to use the analogy for my clients in the past, is that you have regular unleaded gasoline, and you have diesel. Okay, you know, unleaded burns a whole lot faster, or kerosene, whatever you want to call it. Not kerosene burns slow, excuse me. Unleaded burns super fast, and diesel burns a lot slower, like kerosene. But we were just using gasoline and diesel. So gasoline is your preferred source as far as your body goes when it comes to that, which is also want to equate it to glycogen, right? Diesel burns a lot slower, so it's not your body's preferred fuel source, even though it burns slower and it takes more. So whenever you exercise, for the most part, especially when it's like high intensity exercise, your body's going to go to those carbs, that glucose, that glycogen that's stored, and go to that to burn. Once all that's burned up, if there's insulin present, it's going to go to your proteins, and it's going to convert the proteins into glycogen. If you don't have insulin present, it's going to go to your fats, which is where you want to be at. You want to be where it burns that diesel, that fat that's stored. So that's what we want to switch over to. The only way to get to that point is to not have insulin present in your bloodstream, because that prohibits any of that. As long as insulin is present, you're only going to be burning glycogen. So the goal is to get that blood sugar low and make sure that glycogen storages are depleted. So and I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I hope I'm not confusing you. Once you have that done, you get in that fat burning mode. And this is where the ketogenic diet and ketosis goes in, because you hit that switch from the carbohydrates or the glycogen stores to the fat storage. That's why the ketogenic diet is so effective. This is why fasting is so effective. This is, basically where you want to be at, which is the optimal fat burning. And that's why, fasting is such a big deal now, because you're shortening that window. You're shortening the amount of time that insulin is in your bloodstream, and the rest of the time, you don't have any insulin in your bloodstream like that. Your blood sugar is low, so you're burning fat. And that's what you want to keep going. So with that being said, if you follow these principles in terms of the caloric deficit, what I'm getting at in terms of the weight you want to be at, and in terms of staying away from those foods that'll keep your insulin high and you keep your insulin low, then you're going to lose weight like that. Super. Another thing about carbs as well that you guys need to be mindful of, carbs is a double whammy, because it jacks up your insulin and it makes you hold on to water. For every gram of water, I think that there's a gram, don't quote me right now, but for every gram of water, you have like a gram of water that basically the carbohydrate holds on to. That's why it's called carbohydrates. Hydration is because of the water that's attached to it. So you hold on to the higher your carbs are, the more water you're gonna hold on to as well. So that's another downside. So it's a double whammy when you're eating carbs. So with that being said, hope this helps you guys out. Hope this didn't confuse you guys. Hope this made a lot of things clear. I know I talked in a lot of metaphors in terms of things like that, but trust me, you stick to it. That's why it's important to have a higher fat diet, moderate protein, because at the end of the day, protein through gluconeogenesis still can produce glycogen. That's why fat is so important. But at the end of the day, if you have a decent fasting window, whether that be one meal a day, or you eat every other day, or you eat every 3 days, the goal is to keep that insulin down. So hope you guys, hope this has been helpful to you guys. If it has, I ask you guys to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I also, ask you guys to share this video if you feel like it'll be a benefit to someone else. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. If you got any comments, leave them below. And if you have any topics you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to, message them to me as well. Check out all my links in the description, as well as they'll be pinned in the comments. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out of here. Peace.